From the station that made country music famous, 650 AM WSM, this is a Coffee, Country, and Cody podcast. Well, the 2022 Big Machine Music City Grand Prix has come and gone, and Scott Dixon was the winner of the second annual race in the heart of downtown Nashville. Dixon started 12th, at one point went all the way back to 25th before taking the podium and the checkered flag. And we were thrilled to be a part of it at WSM Radio. Bill Cody was hosting the special Opry performance on Sunday night. Kelly Sutton was there on Friday night hosting the big stage. I was at the PNC Ryman Plaza for our Grand Prix watch party, and we were thrilled to kick it all off at Big Machine Distillery. And what a morning we had there with James Hinchcliffe and Tony Kanaan and Mark Borchetta from Big Machine Distillery. Enjoy our Coffee, Country, and Cody podcast.
Coffee, Country, and Cody.
We welcome James Hinchcliffe to the show this morning from Big Machine Distillery. Title sponsor, Big Machine, for the Music City Grand Prix. 2011, you were the Rookie of the Year.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and last year here, you were third.
Yeah. Always cool to get a podium when it's, the inaugural race, a new event, first one, and obviously the way that they did it last year, especially here in Nashville, be up on the podium was really cool.
Well, welcome back, this time in the broadcast booth.
Yes, sir.
So who are the crazy? I forgot to ask Davey this a little bit earlier when he was here. When Davey Hamilton was here, he was talking about the crazies in the world of NASCAR and how you gravitate to each other.
Right.
Do you find that the broadcast community is crazier than the racing community, or vice versa?
I think we know the answer to that, don't we? I mean, we're in the broadcast community. We know where the crazy people hang out.
Can it just be like a different kind of crazy?
Yes.
I think they're all crazy in their own right, but I'm learning what the broadcast crazy is all about.
So what was your decision to step away?
It was a lot of things. I had done 11 years in IndyCar, which by all counts that's a great career. You're lucky to have that kind of time in this sport, and a few things professionally, a few things personally. And I'd always sort of looked at what you were going to do, post-driving once I hung up the helmet. And I'd always had an interest in being involved in the TV side of things. I had some kind of interesting opportunities to do a little bit of it when I was younger before I actually got to IndyCar. And so broadcasting was always kind of on the radar for me. And when I was sort of thinking about making that move, I reached out to NBC and I said, hey, guys, thinking about doing this? And they said, yep. Threw a deal down in front of me and said, if you want it, it's yours. And it was kind of just everything aligned. It was right time, right place. And
he has a shirt with the logo and the whole bit.
And there you go. Now I'm official. Yeah.
It says NBC Sports right here.
Go.
Absolutely. They can't take it away from you.
It's 2 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. That's 2 o'clock Eastern time as you watch us here in Nashville, but 3 o'clock Eastern. 2 o'clock Central, 3 o'clock Eastern.
That's exactly. I do want to ask you what the track was like for you last year. Coming into a brand new city, I know there's got to be nerves. People are not exactly sure what to expect. I know the drivers were talking about this is a different type of course, going across a bridge, going across water. So what was it like for you as a driver on the streets of Nashville?
A new street circuit's really the biggest challenge I think that you can have as an IndyCar driver. If it's a permanent road course or an oval, there's a good chance that something's raced there before, so you might have some video to rely on, maybe some data from another car you could look at. Maybe even you could have had the opportunity to test there before the race weekend. Obviously, city streets, they get shut down for exactly 3 days a year. And so when it's the first time coming to one, everything's new. And there's so many variables on a street circuit, the way the pavement is, what's concrete, there's bumps, there's manhole covers, all these things that are a little different. So it's kind of the most daunting task for a team and a driver, to come to a new place like Nashville. And the bridge was definitely a unique element that we were all excited to do for the first time.
Well, Davey said earlier when he was here, he said it was rough because he did some of the early testing last year.
It was bumpy. I think it still is, but that's part of the character, right? That's part of the charm of street racing. I mean, Toronto's bumpy, Detroit's bumpy. These other tracks that we go to are the same way. So Nashville was great. Very unique layout, some really unique kind of elements like the bridge, like the section on the other side there that were unique, but I thought it was a great race.
Man, watching it happen in our own city makes us so proud because we really are like in the spotlight for this. What have you seen, because you've been in the racing circuit for so long, when you see a successful race like this and it starts to take hold, then I think everybody in Nashville gets the bug. If they didn't have it already, I mean, I'm from Indiana, so I grew up with it, but now people around here are going to start to grow up with it and find a love of it.
But that's just it. I mean, it's about creating an event that's got this long-lasting, element to it, and it's got to start somewhere. somewhere. We had the first one. It was a huge success. The promoters, everything that they did to make this an event. It's not just a race, right? It's an event for the whole city.
Well, yeah, Kelly's got a concert tonight.
Exactly.
And I'm hosting the Grand Ole Opry, and you'll see that on Circle Television on Sunday night after the race, right after the award.
Exactly right. And it's something for the whole family. It's a family-friendly environment, and so I think you start building that up, and especially if we get date equity, and it's the same weekend every summer, people know, oh, yeah, that weekend, this is coming. This becomes a tradition. And I'd love to see this race happening for the next 30, 40 years, and I don't see why we can't do that.
Ooh,
so your name is synonymous with the Andretti family when you were in your car. You
Yes.
said that 10, 11 years that you spent on the circuit. How did that friendship and working relationship develop?
Well, it's funny because it was kind of two elements. There's the friendship side, and then there's the working relationship side. I am basically the same age as Marco Andretti, Mario's grandson, Michael's son. Michael owns the team, and I grew up racing go-karts with Marco. So I've known him since he was a snot-nosed kid because I was also a snot-nosed kid racing go-karts around the States. And my second year in the series, I got hired by Michael to drive for Andretti Autosport, and bulk of my career was there. And I've got a great relationship with the whole family, professionally and personally. They're great people, and I mean, what a name to race for, right? I mean, that's just one of the coolest names in motorsports.
Well, Kelly's been in the back seat with Mario.
There you go.
Let me correct how I said that. That didn't come out right.
That felt really wrong.
In the two-seater.
Thank you.
In the back seat with Mario.
We went fast, too, honey. Let me tell you.
He's Italian, after all.
Woo! I said, you got the wheel. Go for it. But watching all of this happen, it is so exciting for us. I want to hear now for you, being on the other side of it and being in the broadcast booth. There's a different rush when they point at you and say that you're live. Did you expect that the first time?
I mean, live TV is a rush. There's
Yeah,
no
it
doubt
is.
about that. And I think that's part of what attracted me to it. Again, I'd had some opportunities to do some broadcasting earlier in my career, some other kind of live shows that were racing related, whatever. And I always got that rush, like you say, right before it's kind of like that countdown, the producer in your ear, 3, 2, 1. And now you're no coming back, no retakes.
I've heard Dale Earnhardt Jr. talk about the very same thing.
Yeah.
And he grew up in that sport and then, of course, raced successfully. But he said, it's just like being a part of race day again.
Right.
And the other cool thing about it is you feel like you're still part of a team, right?
Yeah.
Obviously when you're driving, it's a team sport, and you win and lose as a team. And as a production, it's kind of that same feeling. When you have a good show, you all know you had a good show, and it's high fives as soon as the camera go off and whatever. But I will say I'm enjoying the air conditioning. Y'all have some hot weather in Nashville. This was a scorching hot race last year inside the race car. I am much more comfortable in the booth now.
How hot is it in the cockpit?
It's warm. I mean, you take the ambient and then you think of how hard the drivers are working, the physicality of these things. It really can't be overstated. A lot of people don't understand how physical it is to drive one of these race cars. And so you're probably looking at least 20 degrees hotter than ambient inside the cockpit. With the new aero screen, we're not getting as much air kind of cooling us down, or at least getting the air moving around the same way. So, drivers can lose 7, 8, 9 pounds in a 2 or 3 hour race just through water weight. So it's incredibly physical. It's incredibly demanding in the car.
Well, take us through speeds. So something that people, as they listen and watch this morning, can relate to. Straightaway speed, top speeds versus corner speeds. How slow do you go? How fast do you go?
Right. So again, we have a great mix of corners here at this Nashville
And
circuit.
people are seeing some B-rolls and video.
Yeah. So up over the bridge down into turn 9, which is actually where we're gonna start the race. We get that nice picture of all the cars
And
lined
how long
up.
is the course?
The course is just a little over 2 miles. Yeah, 2.1. Which is good length for a street circuit. And we're going to top out at about just about 180, 185 miles an hour down into turn 9 on the other side of the bridge there, coming back this way, which is not slow.
Right.
But then, down on the other side of the bridge to that tight section, corners 5, 6, 7, I think it's as slow as about 40, 45 miles an hour. So you have to have the car set up for high speeds, for low speeds, a bit of a compromise from a setup standpoint, and it keeps the drivers on their toes, that's for sure.
What is a good strategy coming in, and what do you think the teams are really working through before they get to the start line?
Beat the other guys. That's the best strategy I've found in my years in the sport.
Go fast. Go fast, don't wreck.
Well, no, the one of the challenges here is because we've only raced here once.
Right.
So the teams have a very limited amount of data to fall back on compared to a Long Beach, which we've been racing at for 40 years, and Indianapolis, which we've been racing at for 100 plus years. And so if you had a bad car last year, you're throwing that setup out and you're sort of throwing things at the dartboard. All right, what are we going to try different this year to make the car better? Maybe you had a problem in the race. You only, if you went out early, you only did a couple laps. You don't have anywhere near as much data as the drivers that finished the race, So there's still a lot of unknowns, even though we've been through a race weekend here. And so a lot of it is just looking at what you were good at last year, where you struggled last year, and then try to focus on those areas.
I've always been curious. What's it like to step out of those cars at over 200 miles an hour and then get in your street car and drive home? I mean, is there something there that...
It's a great question, and it's surprisingly easy.
Is it?
The environments are so different that you don't think about speed or performance or whatever when you jump in your rental car at the end of the day. They don't compute at all. Huh. So driving on the road, frankly, scares the heck out of me compared to driving on the racetrack.
Well, it should in Nashville. I mean, we change tires at about 45 miles an hour.
Sure do.
So.
That's right.
Listen,
nobody
thank
worries.
you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
That was your third place finisher, 2011 Rookie of the Year, James Hinchcliffe. And in the broadcast booth with NBC at 2 o'clock Central, 3 o'clock Eastern Time. NBC has it all. It's the Music City Grand Prix. And where we are this morning, your title sponsor, Big Machine Vodka. We're at the distillery with Kelly Sutton, James Hinchcliffe. I'm Bill Cody.
Coffee, country, and Cody.
IndyCar racing in Nashville. The Go Fast cars are here as the Iron Man, Tony Kanaan, joins us. However, he pulled up on a Polaris.
Yeah.
But I know for a fact you have a recent gift, a perfectly good Texaco Toyota that it says here on your Twitter account, Foi presente, they gave it to me.
Yeah, well, I was joking. They did not give it to me. I was hoping, when you play a joke like that and they go, yeah, you can have it. I got a text right away. It says, no, it's not yours. I get to use it, so it's fine. Like the Polaris from Mark. I mean, I came into town. I told him I drop off my rental, and I said, this is my car for the weekend.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for coming in. We were just talking about the streets. I said, is it more difficult to navigate the streets running because you are an Iron Man and you run most of the time when you're around?
It's a lot easier when you're running because I don't run that fast. When you're in a race car or in a passenger car, it's a lot quicker. But I mean, I love exercising. I've done it my entire life, and but like we were talking before, I could pick a easier way to go to Hawaii this year.
Yes.
Instead of doing a full Ironman.
Yeah, you could just buy plane tickets, Tony.
Right.
They have really nice resorts there. You don't have to run. You don't have to swim. You don't have to bike.
But the wife is going to go on vacation, and I'm just going to have a little thing to do for 12 hours or so.
She'll show up and be like, good job, babe.
She won't.
Okay.
Since we saw you and visited with you last year, Tony, catch us up on where you are in your career, because you stepped away as far as full-time racing, only to go back, and you're doing some NASCAR. It makes it
Since last year, I started doing a partial season in IndyCar. So at the end of last year, Jimmy Johnson, my partner there, was sharing the car with, that is here this week, and decided he wanted it to do a full year. So I was doing the ovals, he was doing the street and road courses. So we worked it out, a deal that I said, all right, I'll step out, but I still want to do the 500. So we did the 500 this year.
Yeah.
Finished third, so we almost won the race. Then I'm doing some stock cars in Brazil, and we did the SRX with Big Machine being my sponsor. So it's 6 races. It's short ovals. We actually raced here in Nashville a few weeks ago, and I'm having a blast. I mean, 22 years in IndyCar was a lot, and I loved it. But now I get to do different things, which I enjoyed a lot.
You at that 500, we know how much you love the Indianapolis 500.
So what was the distance between third and first? What are we talking?
Oh, we're talking about it went red flag, 3 laps to go. It was less than a second and a half between all of us. So it was close.
So that gives you the onus now to go one more year. I want to do one more year.
So the plan, everybody's asking me that,
okay,
right?
Yeah.
But the plan all along, next year will be my 25th year in IndyCar.
Incredible.
If I do the 500. So we're trying to work a deal out that will be it will be for real the last one. So we'll see. We still have a few months to go.
Well, gifts for 25 years are silver.
Right.
Oh,
and then the whole idea is to be a silver car. I mean, it's the whole thing. It's just a project right now. We're talking to the sponsors and the team, and then we'll see what we can do.
Well, James Hinchcliffe was just here, and he was talking about how he felt like he had a wonderfully long 10-year career. He said, if you can do this for 10 years, to do that for more than twice that
Right.
amount is really extraordinary.
I'm very fortunate. I race for the best teams. I mean, I won a championship. I won the 500, 17 races. I mean, I can't complain. I definitely can't complain. I love what I do, and but you know, when I decided to slow down a little bit, it was for a reason, to spend more time with my family, doing different things, working out, doing some Ironmans, and I'm enjoying it a lot. I think I don't think many drivers lasted this long in such a competitive series, so I'm pretty proud of it.
You think your physical condition is the difference maker between you and other guys? Or
100%. I mean, I'm not saying I'm better fit than them, but taking care of my body for all these years. Yeah, I'm 47 years old. I mean, in the sport, you talk about, we have examples everywhere, right, in basketball and the NFL, but, you know, you're talking about a high-level sport. 47 is old, they called, you know, in a sport that, you know, you start so young. I was 22 when I started it. For sure, it contributed a lot.
What have you noticed the biggest changes over that many years? I mean, I can't even fathom what it was like when you started at 22 compared to the technology that we have and the cars that we have.
You just said it. I mean, you and that's hard, right? And that's why, you know, over the years, either you have, I think our generation was already more switched on to adapt to new things electronically. I mean, the new generation is even quicker than us. You know, people look at us texting. I see my kid, but he's 14. He's like, Dad, you're so slow. And that's why I think I lasted a lot longer. But technology, 100%. Yeah. We went from, you know, now we have pedal shifts in the car. Like we change gears in the steering wheel. Before you had an H pattern, which some of the kids don't even know what that is.
What's the learning curve like on something like that for you?
It's not that, it wasn't that hard, but it takes a little bit. And then, you know, the new generation comes and they're a lot more switched on. So you have to actually play with your experience to try to beat them, because you're not going to be as switched on or as sharp electronically, I would call, than the kid. So
you're using a clutch when you're paddle shifting?
You don't know. Actually, it's a hand clutch, and you only use the clutch to leave the pits. So basically, if you see a steering wheel, you have, you know, some of the street cars have pedal shifts now, but we have 4 pedals, like in the back of the wheel. The 2 bottom ones are clutches. So you actually engage, pull first gear, disengage, and then after that you don't use the clutch anymore. So you can upshift without lifting the throttle, and then
it's almost like hydrostatic drive.
Right. And then when you come into the pits, you have a button that puts back to neutral, so you don't have to use the clutch at all. If you spin, you have an anti-stall, so the engine will never actually die. So it's amazing. The technology has been amazing. I mean, this is what is cool about IndyCar. A lot of the things that we have in our street cars nowadays, we developed at the racetrack. That's why manufacturers are involved in racing, to develop their things. We're kind of the lab. And, you know, things go right is awesome, but when things go wrong, so they train their engineers, and all this technology, it's transferred to the street cars.
So you're a test mouse, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. Kind of, yeah. Probably, hopefully a pretty mouse. But
I have to ask, was it more thrilling for you to be on an oval track, to be on a street? Like, what to you was like the thing that gave you that extra jolt of adrenaline?
Well, I come from a background. I'm from Brazil. I think you guys can tell by my accent, but I've never actually had done oval racing until I came to America in '96. Doing the ovals was very impressive. I thought first time I saw an Indy car in an oval, I mean, back in the days we had 1,000 horsepower. You talk about we averaged 238 miles an hour average, you know, that in Indy.
Yeah.
It was impressive. I was like, these people are crazy. I don't think I can ever do that. And getting to know and to learn how to drive in the ovals, and then ended up mastering and winning the 500 probably was the biggest thing for me.
What's the difference in the cars on a street car, the setup, versus the oval? Or is
it is a big difference. We have staggered tires, so basically one side it's actually bigger than the other side. The car is a little tilted. So the steering is not ever straight because it's made it to just turn all the time.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And only turns left.
Right.
On a street course,
in a perfect world, you're turning right.
If you're turning right, you are in trouble. But we do that quite a bit.
Something is going drastically wrong. Yes.
But like here in Nashville, you know, you have a street course. The cars are square. The tires are the same diameter, same stagger we call, and because you have to turn left and right.
And what's the top horsepower now? What are we running?
They will never tell us anymore because it's a secret, but we reckon it's around 700. But back in the day, we we actually top 1,000 horsepower.
We had a drink earlier that was called the Red Line, and that's the
Red
closest we're ever going to get to that.
The red line means because every time you shift gears, you shift it on the red line. That means you're at the limit.
We were at the limit.
What is your top speed ever that you have been recording?
My top speed recorded was 253.
Whoa. Did you know at that moment, like, this feels like the fastest I've ever
No,
gone?
it's funny. If you listen to drivers, you go qualify in Indy and you don't qualify well, and you go, I'm so slow, and you're still averaging 232, 233. But once you're up there, it's like when you're riding an airplane. It's kind of impressive when you take off, but then when you're flying, you really don't realize how fast you're going until you're actually about to crash. So
yeah,
that's pretty much. But the sense of speed, you only get it leaving the pits when you accelerate. But after that, it becomes normal.
Well, hey, we just want to wish you all the best as you go to your Ironman competition in 11 weeks. What does the next 11 weeks look like for you? Because I know that's extremely regimented to get there.
This is my 13th weekend that I'm actually. This is the only one that I'm not racing. Since the 500, I've been doing different types of racing. I've been training in between. I was talking to Mark Borchetta right now. I'm not as fit as I wanted to be because as a race car driver, you're trying to go for a time. But the next 11 weeks will be training a lot, probably between 3 to 5 hours a day. We're here this weekend promoting the Big Machine Spike. Obviously, they're great sponsors of mine, great partners. I'm just watching this weekend so I can get to enjoy the city a little bit.
Yeah,
and then,
good.
Get out. And I brought all my kids here, 4 kids, so we'll be busy. And
what are their ages?
14, 7, 5, and 3.
You're on the family plan.
I am. And
and
basically just training. I still have my stock car races. I have 4 stock car races before October. So
oh, really?
Before I go to Hawaii. So.
And what's involved in the Ironman for people who don't
All right.
know?
3.8K swimming, 180K bike ride, and a marathon at the end. So basically, if you want to translate to miles, Mark, help me out. Do you know the numbers? Right? 140.6 total, which I'm inclined to do in probably, hopefully, 10 and a half hours or so.
And he was telling us off the air that swimming, that everybody else hates,
that's what I've
his
heard.
favorite.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, growing up, I started racing when go-karts. I was 8 years old, and I definitely, to get stronger, I was swimming all the time, and that's why it's easy to me.
Ironman Tony Kanaan, always an honor to have you with us.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
From the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix with Kelly Sutton, I'm Bill Cody. We've got more coming up.
Coffee, country, and Cody.
Ooh, look at that shot.
Yes, it's us.
That's us.
At the Big Machine Distillery, Big Machine Music City Grand Prix 2022 with Mark. Let's go with it from last year. Borchetta.
Oh, great. Benissimo.
It was your brother who messed up the name when he came south to Nashville.
Well, I'd like to blame him, but we blame it on our grandpa.
Oh, good,
the
okay.
whole family's Borchetta except for me. I'm a Borchetta. But because the distillery really was my brother's brainchild, and he's the one who bought this and owns it. The bourbon, when it came out as a family thing, he says it's Borchetta bourbon, not Borchetta bourbon. I'm
Okay.
like, all good.
Okay.
Proud of it. It's an amazing thing.
Well, how long has the distillery been going now, Mark?
Well, it was built in 2011 down south of here in Linville.
Okay.
Beautiful, beautiful rustic place. Scott bought it in 2015.
Okay. Yeah. I remember when I came in here the very first year that it was open, it was during CMA Fest, and it became a haven for a lot of us because it was like air conditioned. You could come in and hang out. And then when we found out he was doing the vodka, we were like, what is this? And that was really kind of how it got started with the flagship vodka, right?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he built this as like a little artist thing for the CMA type of deal, and then started to turn it into a distillery right as he kind of coerced me to say, hey, just come for one little meeting on this thing. And 6 years later.
What were you doing at the time?
Oh, I was living in L.A., consulting and having a blast, racing cars and just having fun and raising my son.
So racing cars is a part of your heritage, too.
It is, yeah. Scott and I grew up racing, and therefore when he said, hey, we're going to be title sponsor on this IndyCar race, I'm like, yes. And then we found out that the Indy cars that come race here in 1911 at the Fairgrounds Speedway that's the first year of the Indy 500. And Scott goes, let's do a bourbon. I'm like, all right. And race-related bourbon. First thing we've ever put the last name on. And it's race-themed. The last year, we only made 1,000 bottles. All the bourbon is made in-house.
And
It's
tell us
all
about
ours.
the toppers.
I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
So, but everybody wants to know, though, they just bought juice and they're racers. No, we are distillers. We are serious. This is good product. We've only entered 3 awards with this bourbon, won double gold and gold in all 3 of them.
Okay.
So the first year, what we did is, since it was 1911, and the first Indy 500, we put the winning car of that 1911 Indy 500 as the topper on this bottle. We only made 1,000 of them, and I put it at kind of a high price because we really didn't want it to all go away.
Right.
And so it does sell for $300. In the tasting rooms, it's $400. Except that we started running out so bad, it's kind of a little pricey now.
Yeah,
so
now,
we don't
now
really sell
people
it anymore.
they're trying to find it and get their hands on it.
It's true. But so this year, Scott started collecting cars a few years back, and one of the cars that he bought, I think it was the first one actually as a racer, is a 1972 Unser Eagle, and built by Dan Gurney.
So it'll be the 50th anniversary year.
There you go.
Yeah.
See, look at your math.
Fast math.
Good.
Fast
I'm
math.
so glad he's here to get my back.
Yeah. I didn't give you any numbers. I was like, that's cool, 1972. Awesome.
Great. But yeah, so this year we did put that car up there. It's the first car to go over 200 miles an hour in a closed circuit. And it's
so
in his
cool.
garage, and I think it might even be on display over here across the river at the race this weekend. And we actually made this bottle a full dedication to the Unser family, Bobby Unser, Al Unser, Al Unser Jr., 9 Indy 500 wins between that iconic family. And the photo on the back of the box actually shows me and Scott sitting next to their autographs when we were 9 years old, 10 years old, in the cement out at Ontario Motor Speedway.
Oh, wow.
So they've been heroes of ours all our lives, and we've been, had the pleasure of knowing them. And Al Jr. is here this weekend. He's coming here tomorrow for an event. And, it's great. We love racing. We've raced our whole lives, and Scott still races full-time. I race here and there. I just raced at the fairgrounds a few weeks ago. And
What is it about being in that car that really sparks you? We just talked to Tony Kanaan. We've had so many people. Yeah, right. We've just had so many people that have been here that have, it becomes part of who you are. It's in your DNA, and I can see your eyes light up when you mention it. What is it about that?
I wish I could tell you. I'm glad I have it, and then frustrated that I have it. It's scary. It's exciting. There's a feeling of power. I wish I could tell you, but man, it's an adrenaline, And so when they start building the track here each year, go out at night and just take that track, go around, and I don't know. And we're good at it.
Yeah,
that helps.
yeah.
You like to do things that you're good at.
Yeah, and you're also, in addition, you're not racing, you're running, and you are not just any runner. You're a barefoot runner.
Well, yeah, but this year has been so busy here that I haven't really been focusing on that as much.
Is that right?
So, yeah. So now...
But you ran through the streets of Nashville in your bare feet, yeah?
Yeah. Scott, I didn't bring it up. He did.
Wasn't me.
Yes.
Just to, see what you've built. This has to be such a wonderful feeling, because I can't imagine. How many years was it in planning before we even got the race here last year?
Oh, well, I wish I could say I was part of that, but we really owe that so much to Matt Cruz and his little team of people that he's just been courting for, I think he said 10 years last night. And they were talking about how Marcus Ericsson last year comes up, just flies his car up into the air, destroys the front of the car, lands down. They get him into the pit, somehow fix that car. I think he had a tire barrier issue even hit later in the race, and then won that race. Matt compares that arc of story to how they got this going, how many times they toasted to, well, the race is dead, it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
And so that was funny. He shared that last night on stage with the driver's party. So, yeah, it's like 10 years.
And then last year to have this be such an overwhelming success. I mean, the minute that race was done, everybody is talking about it. We're hearing it's the most watched race. Everybody loves it. Everybody wants to come to Nashville next year. So we are building this city as an IndyCar loving city. You know,
Absolutely.
I mean, like you said earlier, Bill, we've always been NASCAR. We love NASCAR. But now you add IndyCar in the mix.
Well, then you had a guy like Jimmy Johnson who made the transition, after retiring from NASCAR.
Absolutely.
And 7 championships in NASCAR.
Yep.
Now he's over here, and he can't get enough because he tells Tony Kanaan, no, I don't want to get out of the car and let you in.
I want to be full season now.
Well, and it was great for Jimmy to do that. He knew that he could get another feel from the car racing the ovals this year. Yeah. And, it's such a transition. People don't understand. It was either Tony or Hinch said, you don't know how hard it is to drive these cars. Turning that wheel, and you're on edge. I mean, you think a roller coaster, give it bumps and no rail to really hold you. This is hard. I mean, and so... Anyway, I forgot now where I was going with that because I did the roller coaster analogy. Anyway, next topic.
But it really is. It's physically incredible to watch.
Yeah.
It's amazing for us as a city
Yeah.
to see us in such a spotlight. And I mean, all of that is really in part thanks to all the people that put it on, but then also for you guys stepping in and being the title sponsor again. Thank you.
Absolutely. It's a dream come true for us.
Yeah. That's so fun.
Well, tell us about some of the other products.
Okay, yeah. So
What is the spite? I want to know about this.
Okay,
It looks
so
like something I would
how much
like,
time
Mark.
do we have? I want to make sure I don't go over. So coming out of the pandemic, we'd been doing the vodka. That was really the lead product. And we were exhausted after the pandemic. We donated and created and sold so much sanitizer. We were so blessed to be in that position where we could do that. Kept all of our staff, full-time throughout. We were really blessed that way. But I went back and said, Scott, I don't know if I can just go back to doing this vodka by itself. I said, we need something more unique now. We have a saying, he's like, hey, start it crazy and work back from there. And I did crazy stuff, and he's like, that's too crazy. But I said, we need something unique. And I said, you see some pouches out in the markets, with wine and stuff in them. We're a vodka company. I said, I want to do these pouches. I said, I'm just going to go fill like 30,000 of these and see what happens.
Okay.
And he's like, all right, cool. So we developed everything in-house. I've got an amazing team close to me that just the commitment, the hours, formulated this product literally in her little office up on Music Row, and all these little flavors, and she'd have me come taste, and we're in there, taking notes and eating at 10 o'clock at night, and we said, all right, I'm going to put one of these out, and it's hard to get people interested in your product in this business.
Right.
And so the first company I sent this to was up in Indianapolis, and I said, hey, just take a look at this thing, and the guy goes, wow, how soon can we have these? I called Sky, said, I'm going to fill like 300,000 of these. We're over 1 million sold. They're all over Walmarts in Florida, Texas,
These
Indiana.
are
We're in
vodka
like 20
juice
states.
coolers.
Yes, this is natural fruit juice.
Okay.
And Big Machine vodka, and they're great.
And
they taste amazing.
you can put them in the freezer and freeze them.
You can drink it cold, or you can...
Look, I've got all kinds of ideas.
How I was responding to racing, that's right there.
Have you met your new celebrity spokesmodel?
Yes, there you go, Kelly.
A little
But yeah,
frozen.
freeze it. It's a great slushy, or drink it cold. And this one screws off. It's 12.5% alcohol.
No
Go for it,
glass.
girl.
And what are
You know
what are the different flavors again?
Oh, coconut breeze, lavender lemonade, and citrus peach. But then Then in the
You go, girl.
regular, we have a straw one that also we have lemonade.
Cheers. Cheers.
Designated broadcaster. That's me. I never thought that would happen.
Bill Didi.
But with these two,
Look, she's still going. Man, I got to keep up. I always say I do most of my drinking before noon.
Thanks for listening to our Coffee, Country, and Cody podcast. Our program director at WSM Radio is J. Patrick Tittle. Our digital producer is Haley Hall. Marketing and promotions director is Amanda Cannon. And I'm Charlie Matos. If you like what you've heard, make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And leave us a review on iTunes. It really does help new people find the show.